T minus 1 minute. T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Well, tonight on Truth Today, we're going to be talking about deep state rot. That's right. The political establishment that we have to fight on both sides of the aisle. Also, we're going to be talking about the State of the Union, some clips, comments, the disgusting behavior of the Democrats. Not shocking. We're going to have our special guest, Erik Wiatr, who's a local friend here in Tennessee, political consultant, campaign manager, conservative, Republican. He's going to be commenting on that and really what's going on, especially at the local and state level. We got to keep our eyes focused on the local and state level, not just what's going on federally. That and much more right now on Truth Today. Well, good evening, folks. Welcome to Truth Today. We're so glad to have you with us tonight. I am Pastor Shahram Hadian with Truth in Love Ministry. And of course, we're live in studio. We're back here and we are live streaming to Rumble and to Facebook tonight. So if you're on either of those platforms, thank you for being with us tonight. Of course, I was gone for a long trip. Our longest trip in our ministry's history, actually. It was supposed to be 12 days, ended up being 13 days. I'll tell you that little tidbit of the story here just in a minute. Had some fun, not really, trying to get back to Tennessee here with the flights. But anyway, great to be back with you live. I want to encourage you a couple of things. If you need more information about our ministry, of course, check out our website, tillministry.com. tilministry.com. And also do us a favor. If you are on our Rumble channel, would you click follow and like and then share? We are really praying for an increase of the audience. As you know, we were deplatformed off of YouTube a couple of years ago for speaking truth, and they didn't like it. And so we're on Rumble. We're trying to build up that audience again. But anyway, just waiting for some more folks to jump on here. But that's our Rumble channel, rumble.com/Shahram Hadian. As I mentioned, being gone for 12-day trip. I was in South Dakota and then in Western Washington State. Long trip. My son Micaiah was with me. He got sick at the first half of the trip. Which was challenging a little bit, but God was good there and got him getting healed up. Although I take him to urgent care and get him some antibiotics, unfortunately. And then I got sick towards the tail end of the trip, and trying to speak, do multiple nights of speaking when you're sick, it was challenging, and got back. So anyway, got rested and trying to get back, and we caught a flight from Seattle to Minneapolis. Then on the flight from Minneapolis back here to Knoxville, Delta Airlines took forever to get out of the gate. They closed the plane, we're ready to leave, and then they don't have somebody to push the plane back. Okay, that's happened before. 5 minutes. No, an hour. We sit there for 1 hour. Meanwhile, there's a storm coming into Knoxville, and they're trying to get ahead of the storm. And there's a storm coming in. It was snowing in Minnesota. So now we got to go taxi finally and go to the place where they de-ice the plane. Well, then a 15-minute de-icing takes like 45 minutes. So 2 hours after our scheduled departure time, we finally take off. Now we got 2 hours en route. And we start coming in, and the pilot had said, it's going to be kind of bumpy, a little bumpy. This was the worst approach that I've ever been on, ever, flown many, many years. This was a small CRJ 900. So this plane was getting tossed about to and fro by almost 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts coming into Knoxville. I don't know why they were trying to land in the first place, but I was just praying, like, God, please give these pilots wisdom. Don't try to force this. Anyway, we come in to about less than 50 feet, maybe even less, close to landing. We're almost on the runway, and this thing is just moving everywhere. And they have to come in so fast. And this plane is coming way too fast. And I typically, because I've landed here in Knoxville so many times, I know kind of where they, based on the buildings to the left of the plane where I was sitting, I kind of know about where they are, usually when they're got to hit their mark on the runway. And he's way past that. And he's coming in fast. So now they gun the engines, and they got to take off. They don't even land. They just do a go around. And so that unnerved everybody. And people were, just unnerved on the flight, and rough takeoff. And so now we're like, are they going to try again? Well, now they divert us to Charlotte. So we have to go to Charlotte. We have to land in Charlotte, and got stuck there overnight. Had to wait till like 6:30 in the morning at the airport to get a rental car. Slept a few hours in a hotel that they had given us, and then drove home and got back late last night. So that was our adventure. Anyway, so good to be back with you guys. Didn't mean to take that long on the story. But great to be back with you. Great to be just live in studio. Hey, I want to quickly go to just a verse that I want to cover tonight. By the way, our topic tonight, if you did not get our text alert, is deep state rot, fighting the political establishment. And we're going to be commenting a little bit with my guest on the State of the Union and what we witnessed, which was pretty historic. We saw some pretty historic things. A historic State of the Union as far as view, but deep state rot, we're going to be talking about that. But our Bible verse, very quickly, that I want to share with you tonight is actually in 2 Peter chapter 2, specifically in verse 19. Now, it's in context, it's talking about false teachers. So it is in context talking about within the church. But I think it applies a little bit to our nation and to those who are supposed to be ministers of God as part of one of the 4 institutions that God has created for the good of man. God created the individual. God created the family unit, husband, wife, father, mother. God created the church, and then God instituted the need for civil authority, what we call civil government. And there are those in the church in this context that were promoting the concept of democracy, freedom, whatever that word freedom means, liberty. But what they were doing was they were really enslaving people. And I think that most Americans, most Christians, especially living in this country, don't understand that they have been enslaved by a political establishment for decades. For decades. We think that we have a two-party system. We think that we have maybe choice. We think that we have the ability to really impact change. But what we're dealing with is a corrupt political establishment on both sides of the aisle. And this is what you see now within the governments of the world, where we see this rise of this global governance, one world government, one world economy, one world religion, what things that I believe the Bible has told us are going to happen. So in verse 19 of 2 Peter, it says, while they promised them liberty, they themselves are slaves of corruption. For by whom a person is overcome, by him also he is brought into bondage. So when we look at the fruit, when we witness what overcomes people, what are they aligned with? What is the fruit of what they're doing? We begin to understand the bondage that they're in and the bondage that they really want for individuals who are created in the image of God. So what we are witnessing, and perhaps what we have the opportunity to push back against, is this systematic political bondage that we have been under, with this notion that we have this choice. But really, are we dealing with a battle of the deep state, the uniparty deep state, and then individuals who are fighting for our conservative principles, biblical principles, constitutional principles, and the rule of law? And this is what we're talking about. This is what I believe is this deep state rot that is ultimately spiritually demonic. And perhaps what we saw on Tuesday night at the State of the Union was just the latest manifestation of that should have opened the eyes of so many to look at the differences, look at the things that are being talked about, look at the things that are being celebrated versus the things that are being opposed. And again, this verse, they promise us liberty. The political establishment promises us liberty and freedom, but they themselves are slaves of corruption. And what are we seeing in our nation now? What are we seeing exposed in the media, in the nation, the government, even in our churches? Is the corruption. Money corrupts. The love of money is the root of all evil, corrupts. And they themselves are overcome and brought into this bondage. Look at this verse 20 real quick. For if after they have escaped the pollutions of the world through the knowledge of the Lord Savior Jesus Christ, they are again entangled in themselves and overcome. Now, again, in context, that's talking about those who are born again, those who are in the church. So I just want to apply it to the fact that obviously there are many who we witness in the political arena that are not born again, that are not, God-fearing, spirit-filled believers. Some are, some are not. But it's so heinous, those who are doing the corruption, then using the name of God, using the fact that it's somehow, they're Christians. I was watching some of the testimony of Congress against these mayors of these cities with sanctuary policies. You guys know my background. I was a police officer in Washington State, and I was in Redmond, Washington, which is in King County. That is a sanctuary county, sanctuary city. I dealt with this over and over and over again. The frustration of dealing with criminal illegals in our city and the city doing nothing about it, not cooperating with the federal government, and seeing these mayors be brought forward. And then I saw you see the mayor of Boston, and she's got the ash symbol. What is she? Claims to be Catholic. She's supposed to be doing Lent. Give me a break. This is the same mayor who just a couple days ago, when a when a deranged individual, probably a Muslim, but they didn't ever say it, went into a place with a knife trying to stab people in a I think it was a Chick-fil-A, and an off-duty police officer shot the person. This is the same disgusting mayor that went in front of the camera and apologized to the family of the criminal, said, "I'm so sorry for your loss." And somebody, I saw a meme or meme, whatever, online saying, "Is this Gotham City? Like, you can't make this garbage up." This is the disgusting filth that we have running our office. These are people that are so corrupted. And then she's got the ash claiming that she's some sort of a God-fearing person. Give me a break. All right. That's my rant for tonight. And I'm going to bring on my guest here with me. Let me just give you a quick backstory here. I met Erik a couple of years ago, I think, when I was speaking at a local event here, and when I was connecting with folks who are part of the Republican Party, political party here in Knoxville area. And I've been following him because he is a campaign. So he's a conservative first and foremost. He's a Republican strategist, campaign manager. He is managing several campaigns of state legislators. And just looking at his resume, he's got 2 state representatives that he managed their campaign. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different, 2 presently, and then others in the past. Knox County, that's our county here. Or no, not my county. I'm just in the county south of that, but city of Knoxville, Knox County. He manages the campaigns of a couple of Knox County commissioners, and he's had years of campaign strategy, dealing with the political establishment, So I thought he'd be a good person to bring on when we're talking about this topic tonight. And also because he has been exposing the political corruption on both sides of the aisle, how it seems like in some areas, the Republicans work with the Democrats on political corruption, on the money trail. So we're going to talk about lots of that stuff. But Erik is living here locally. He has a Bachelor of Arts in History from Southern Illinois University. He is married and is expecting his first little boy very soon. So we congratulate him on that. And so, Erik, welcome, sir, to Truth Today tonight. Truth Today, but it's tonight. Thank you so much for being on with us.
Well, thank you for having me on too. I really do appreciate it. And thank you for the intro too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we can talk about, obviously, your experience. Our audience, they're from around the country, so they're not going to probably know the local, some of the local elected officials that you represent. Justin Lafferty, Elaine Davis. I know them because we're here local, but they may not. But needless to say, you have many years of political experience, being in the environment, being in the campaign. And by the way, before I forget, folks, if you want to connect with Erik or follow him, that's his X account. So go to x.com/Erik Wiatr. Did I get that right? Wiatr. Mm-hmm. And please connect with him. Follow him because he's constantly on both on Facebook and on X posting things about corruption. And though they may be some of them about Tennessee issues, I guarantee you, folks, they're going to apply to what's going on in your state, what's going on in your community. And so, Erik, I want to get your comment, first of all, on the State of the Union, because we just had that. If we can just maybe cover that broadly first, and then we'll come to some of the local things that you've been exposing in the deep state rot, in the establishment rot that there is. Would you agree, first of all, that this is across both parties in the sense of this kind of rot?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely problems on both sides, whether you're talking about some of the taxpayer funding or the abuse of power. I mean, even Elon Musk recently was talking about some of the things he's finding, and like, let's face it, probably nobody in the country is diving deeper than he is right now he was on Joe Rogan interview recently, and he said, he would imagine it's about, whether you call it corruption or waste or fraud. I mean, he was saying it's about 75% Democrat, 25% Republican. So it's definitely something that is going to the Republican Party too.
Right. But the question that I posed tonight on Rumble, and folks, if you want to comment on that, you can on our chat, is I cannot imagine anybody that claims to be God-fearing, anybody that claims to represent our constitutional republic, knowing that, quote, we're not a democracy, supporting the Democrat Party. Now, again, as one who ran for political office in Washington State and ran as a Republican, and I ran on the platform, and it's a very solid platform, and I covered this summer some of the gutting of the platform and some of the concerns federally, but yet we have some very, very good state platforms for the Republican Party. How anybody that claims to be God-fearing can now support a Democrat platform and a Democrat Party is beyond understanding. And of course, in the Christian circles, we see this all the time because the Trump derangement syndrome is very real. The never Trump in the church in the arena I deal with a lot in the church is very real, because it doesn't matter what he does. It matters that it's Trump. And so we're going to hate everything. That type of stuff is very real. But let's go to just a couple of highlights. And I won't play all of this, folks, but because I want to get to some other comments. But I want to go to a couple of highlights here of just stuff that we saw. Here is just a few highlights that, Eric, I want you to comment on. We'll just play a little bit of it. I may fast forward a little bit of it. And just want you to comment on with what you saw, starting with the fact that the president walked in, Eric, and the Democrats didn't stand up. You saw that too, right?
Yeah, I watched the whole thing.
What was your take on the fact that they didn't even stand up? Because no respect for the institution, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm not surprised though.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and obviously, I think you're going to go to the DJ Daniels situation here, and that was a pretty sad.
Well, let me just play this first part where I think it was Al Green got kicked out.
Just begun.
Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House and to cease any further disruptions. That's your warning. Members are engaging in willful and continuing breach of decorum, and the chair is prepared to direct the Sergeant at Arms to restore order to the joint session. Mr. Green, take your seat. Take your seat, sir. Take your seat. Finding that members continue to engage in willful and concerted disruption of proper decorum, the chair now directs the Sergeant at Arms to restore order.
All right, that's enough of that. I want to come back and get your take on that. I don't know if folks could hear what he was saying, but he was saying he has no mandate to be here. That's crazy, right? That was crazy. But this was, from my understanding, it was the most record watched State of the Union. I think I got that right. I saw that they broke a record as far as how many people watched it, but you saw lots of that type of decorum. Any comments on that little demonstration before we move on? I want to bring another one before we go to DJ Daniel, because I want to.
I mean, I'm just not surprised. I mean, if anything, I'm surprised that not more Democrat elected officials acted up and did exactly what Congressman Green did.
Are you surprised where we're at though in the political? I don't even know what the right word is. Political landscape of our nation now.
I think look, it's disappointing. So in that sense, I guess there's surprise there. If someone were to ask me 25 years ago if they were to describe America today, I wouldn't believe them. It just would have sounded crazy. But, about 15 years ago, the Democratic Party went extremely radical left. They continue to go unhinged. And really, Trump and other Republicans, they get blamed for divisiveness. But really, all we did is say that the craziness has to stop. That's all we did. And then the Democrats even went crazier and they started getting nastier. And then so it made it look like Republicans were somehow being the divisive ones, but really we were just saying like the madness has to stop. Like this is going too far.
Too far, exactly. And so the quote left has gone to a radical left, and there is a sense of that using that terminology, common sense. Here's a moment. I'll probably fast forward through a little bit of this as well because I really want to get to the DJ Daniel, the young 13-year-old, because that was probably the most touching moment perhaps of the entire night. But this was a pretty profound moment when he's talking about the illegals coming into this country. Play a little bit and I'll fast forward. Here we go.
But if we truly care about protecting Americans' children, no step is more crucial than securing America's borders. Over the past 4 years, 21 million people poured into the United States. Many of them were murderers, human traffickers, gang members, and other criminals from the streets of dangerous cities all throughout the world. Because of Joe Biden's insane and very dangerous open border policies, they are now strongly embedded in our country, but we are getting them out and getting them out fast.
All right, so there's that. Yeah, and then he goes forward.
Nursing student named Laken Riley.
And this is about Laken Riley.
The best in her class, admired by everybody, went out for a jog on the campus of the University of Georgia. That morning, Laken was viciously attacked, assaulted, beaten, brutalized, and horrifically murdered. Laken was stolen from us by a savage illegal alien gang member who was arrested while trespassing across Biden's open southern border and then set loose into the United States under the heartless policies of that failed administration. It was indeed a failed administration. He had then been arrested and released in a Democrat-run sanctuary city, a disaster, before ending the life of this beautiful young angel. With us this evening are Laken's beloved mother, Allison, and her sister, Lauren.
So you saw there, what was your thought there, Erik? Again, very powerful moments there with Laken Riley, but Democrats wouldn't stand. You saw a couple of them, Blumenthal, a couple of them were applauding, but they wouldn't stand for that moment. Again, like you said, not surprising, maybe given where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
But this is, what are we up against now? I mean, what are they for? What is, do you still believe that we're kind of still closely 50-50 split in this country, as far as the demographic? I mean, I know Trump won the popular vote, and majority of counties and all those things, but do you think that, let's say at the state level, where we've had those type of outbursts by Democrats in our legislative sessions, we've had protests in Nashville, we've had that have celebrated illegals, trying to stop the removal of just your thoughts on where we are at now in the political discourse dealing with the establishment, the deep root, the deep state.
Well, look, there's always been a radical left part of the Democratic Party, but now it's completely in control of the Democratic Party. So that's the big thing that has changed, right? And if you look at their elected officials, if you look at their leadership, it's all radical left now. This is why you're even starting to see liberals leave the party for that reason. Liberals who have some common sense. So, and let's just talk about Tennessee specifically, because you brought up the Tennessee Three. So what you're referring there, two of them, Justin Jones and Justin Pearson, are recently new state representatives. If you look at Tory Jones, if you look at Afton Bain is another one. If you look at all of these names I'm mentioning, they are far more radical than the Democrat that they replaced, right? The previous state legislator that they replaced. In every single instance in Tennessee, the Democratic Party has become more and more radical left, despite the fact that they're not gaining ground amongst the people, right? And so you asked the question about our nation. Well, the election results would suggest that we're roughly 50-50. I think if people really thought about where they stood and if they moved aside partisan labels, they probably would see themselves more aligned with Republican elected officials than Democrat. But at the end, too, going back to the Democrat leaders, I don't think they want the same thing anymore. I think a lot of them view America as evil. They view Christianity as evil. They view the family as evil. Males, heterosexual males, especially if they're white males, as evil. And so they are really just people that have just gone on the deep end in a very toxic way. And I think some of them actually just view humanity in general as evil, right? I mean, you hear that in some of the implicit things they say in the green movement, right? The radical climate agenda. And so they just see us as a problem on the planet.
Well, and certainly would support a depopulation agenda that we saw and perhaps was part of the entire COVID fiasco, was that, how do we depopulate? Right now, they're trying to do all the culling of our food supply, and this is it's a very perilous time, and I think that's what my discernment has been is I just want people to be on guard, because I think there is a sense now that with Trump in there, highlighting all the things that we're highlighting at the federal level. Here we live in Tennessee. We have a Republican governor. We have a Republican legislature, supermajority. And it would be easy to go to sleep and not understand that the radicals are now so radical, as you said, and violent. And whether it's the LGBT movement, the trans movement, the environmentalist movement, the Hamas movement. I mean, we have different aspects of what's going on. And I was telling you that, the guest I had a couple of weeks ago talking about here in Tennessee, again, wanted to just quickly get to the quick video of this young boy, and then we'll get into what we're seeing here in Tennessee, here in Knoxville with that. But that's the warning, is that we got to understand where we're at. Because when you were telling me about the three in Tennessee, my first thought is, but they're getting elected. Right? Like you said, it wasn't like they were appointed. They're replacing. So now the people that are electing them are also getting far more radical. So is it that is it happening because of fraud? Is it happening because legitimately that voting bloc is now, getting so much more radical, so much more anti-American, anti-family, all the things you already said.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. I mean, look, I think basically the Democratic Party has three main pillars, three groups that are really driving the party right now. And, one is the LGBTQ agenda, right? Another one is your university professors. They're Marxist. To bring this back to UT, you can go to the sociology page. You can look on the profile of some of these professors. They will talk about Marxism. We got the Critical Race Collective at UT, that, again, another Marxist entity. But then the third one is just single, especially white women who are just woke, right? And their only issue that they care about is abortion, right? And that has been, they have been brainwashed into thinking like that is the most important issue in the world.
That's so true. And because I was just going to ask you about one of the things we saw, the most ironic and foolish thing before was all those women on the Democrat side wearing pink just after voting to not stop men from being in women's sports, but they claim to be pro-woman, surrounding the member of Congress now that is a trans. He's a dude. It's not a woman, but it's a dude dressed as a woman. I mean, it's the Bible calls that a spirit of delusion. It's total delusion. Like you can't even put reason to it. Real quick, let me just finish with this one little clip. This is such a touching moment. I want to get your comment because it's so powerful. This moment, everybody should be rejoicing in that. And let me just bring this up here real quick on a little 13-year-old little boy here. Here we go, folks. Watch this moment.
Is a young man who truly loves our police. His name is DJ Daniel. He is 13 years old, and he has always dreamed of becoming a police officer. But in 2018, DJ was diagnosed with brain cancer. The doctors gave him 5 months at most to live. That was more than 6 years ago. Since that time, DJ and his dad have been on a quest to make his dream come true, and DJ has been sworn in as an honorary law enforcement officer, actually a number of times. The police love him, the police departments love him. And tonight, DJ, we're going to do you the biggest honor of them all. I am asking our new Secret Service Director, Sean Curran, to officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service.
Oh, that look. What an awesome look. What an awesome look. How cool is that?
Yeah, that was probably the best moment of the night right there.
The best moment.
And some of the other videos I've seen of him, I mean.
And then this just awesome. Just pure, like, so cool. I think 13 operations that he's had, and yet, yeah, and they're chanting his name, DJ, and yet the Democrats there, as you saw, Erik, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, my goodness. I mean, that's just like, it's evil. They are embodying evil. I think their consciences are so seared. They're so engulfed in that anti-God, anti-America, anti-family agenda. Let's talk about, so any other comments? I mean, I know we've already talked about it, but I just wanted, for anybody who didn't see it tonight in our audience, I just wanted to highlight that. Here they're sitting, and I don't understand what is going on in your heart. Like, as the Bible says in Romans 1, you got to be so darkened, the futility, it talks about the futility of the mind, the darkening of the heart. How darkened in your heart do you have to be that this moment, it doesn't matter who is the president, this moment, and you can't look, you can't smile, you can't clap. Wow. I mean, that just to me is so revealing. Then also the moment that we had, let me get to that headline right here. The moment that also Trump renamed the Texas Wildlife Refuge after this young woman who was murdered, Jocelyn Nongare, who was murdered. Just any comments there before we go to Tennessee stuff here and Knoxville stuff? I want to bring up some of your posts that you've done.
Yeah, just like the other things you've been saying, I mean, just a very sad moment of the Democratic Party. And you also got to, if they're coming from that dark, if they're in that dark of a place, I think any voter has to question everything else that they are proposing right now, right?
Exactly.
And really look through it in those lens when they're talking about the green climate agenda, when they're talking about equity, when they're talking about race, when they're talking about women. I mean, just think of the dark place that they're coming through and really have to ask yourself if their intentions have any purity in them at all.
That's right. That's right. And it's a remarkable turnaround because honestly, I would have thought that before this election, that with the power that the Democrat Party was trying to consolidate in this nation and the corruption, and probably with the help of the establishment Republicans, that you wouldn't be able to see this flip around the other way. Now you're looking at a scenario where you're thinking, do they survive? I mean, I guess there's always fraud, right? There's always cheating, but can they legitimately now muster election wins? Locally, yes, but are you energized by this as a campaign consultant?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And I think conservatives are in general. I mean, part of what I do is helping conservatives organize. And in general, at the grassroots level, I'm seeing people are very energized, right? And I think we're seeing that across Tennessee. You probably have seen some of the news stories where conservatives are winning their county Republican conventions.
Right.
In fact, I mean, look, there's probably some examples I'm not aware of now, but every one that I'm aware of where the conservatives actually tried to win their county Republican Party convention, they did, right? The only couple examples I'm aware of in Tennessee is where the local conservative leadership, for a variety of reasons, essentially just gave up, right? They didn't try, which, I mean, we should never give up. But, I mean.
What are they facing, though, Eric? What are they facing? I mean, we've seen this before. I mean, look, I got involved in the political process at the front end of the Tea Party movement, right? That was kind of what got me involved back in 2009. I had just come out of law enforcement and then kind of had a burden for our government and our nation. And, we saw that before. We saw a movement where you saw such powerful grassroots, such powerful impacting and taking over of the Republican establishment or the rhinos or whatever we want to call them at the local level. But yet they were thwarted because of what was going on at the state party, at the federal party. Are you optimistic this time now because maybe it's a different party because of the influence of Trump federally? I mean, does that change things?
Well, one thing I do want to push back a little bit. So while the Tea Party itself may have been thwarted in name, right?
Okay.
I think the people who made that up, the movement of it, it resulted, because we have to remember the people elected Trump in the 2016 Republican primary. So Trump was the manifestation of where the Republican Party voters were at that time. And that is continued. And he definitely allowed that movement to make leaps and bounds in the direction that it was going. But, I mean, we had huge wins in 2010 in our nation and state legislators. I think that was a result of the Tea Party. And then what happened in 2020, even though Trump the election results did not go in his favor, but the way the things went, right, I think allowed 2024 to happen. And then now, just in the last 2 months, I mean, we have found so much information out that I think is, to your question, what happens to the Democratic Party moving forward? I used to think in my head, like, man, why aren't Republicans, like, you would see these numbers where the Democrats, I mean, they have networks that get over $1 billion, right? Arabella. There's another one. I'm drawing a blank on the name, but it was associated with Black Lives Matter. I posted about it on social media, but I mean, each of these networks would have over $1 billion annually in funding. I'm like, where are they getting this money? And now we're starting to find out, like, okay, I see where they're getting some of this money now.
Exactly.
So I don't know. They may struggle moving forward if the Republicans cut that off. Exactly.
Let's go to a highlight here. I want you to talk about this. So one of the things you were telling me about was this crossover that some people here in Tennessee might not understand. People living in other states would, but explain to us who this Chloe Akers is. You say pro-abortion, pro-gun confiscation, pro-big government. She raised over $1 million with PACs. The Best of Tennessee and liminal plan to encourage liberalist leftist Democrats to vote in Republican primaries. Okay, so in some states, I was telling you on the phone yesterday that when we talked that, when I lived in Washington State, we had open primaries. So that would happen all the time. It was so hard for conservatives to win in primaries because the Democrats would cross over and vote for the Rhino Republican rather than the conservative Republican. Explain just briefly here, very quickly, what's going on in Tennessee and why is this so dangerous with someone like this who is, like you said, lots of money coming in?
Yeah. So Chloe Akers is an attorney. And so what she has formed these PACs, and the explicit intention, like, look, okay, well, for your listeners, 64.2% of Tennessee voted for Donald Trump. And so she knows she can't win in the general election, right? Because we are such a Republican state. So she has said, what we're going to do is we're going to target the Republican primaries that are lower voter turnout. And so she has raised over $1 million already. Like, for instance, what she's doing is she is supporting the Republican she perceives is most like her issues. So people who are pro-abortion, people who are pro-gun confiscation, they want to expand Medicaid or they want to expand government in general. This is who she's supporting in our Republican primary. She's already started. Her PACs gave $290,000 to Courtney Johnson, who ran against Andy Ogles, an incumbent. And her PAC also already engaged in Tennessee State House and Senate races too. Wow.
So the goal is ruin the primary, come in. And you were saying that you're hopeful now that maybe the Republican legislators here in Tennessee are waking up that, wait a second, we kind of liked it before because this gave us the ability, this kind of open system gave us the ability to maybe keep the establishment Republicans in power. But now if they're targeting us openly, these leftists, you're hopeful that maybe they're going to close this loophole because what will be the solution? The solution would be what? What would we
party registration? So
registration.
What we're looking at is legislation. Chris Todd has a bill in the House. The companion bill is by Senator Lowe in the Senate, and there's Susan Lynn has one. I forget. I think Joey Hensley is her senator companion on the bill. But so these bills would do party registration. When you go to vote, you would declare what party you want to vote in, or you don't have to declare a party. But then if you don't declare a party, you don't vote in the primary. Okay. And now we're going to have to implement this. And so it's a question of how it's going to be implemented, because for millions of us, we're already registered to vote in Tennessee. And so one way that may look like is the next time you vote in a primary, the ballot you choose, that's what you register at. Now, you can always register and change for another party, but it would be subject to the 30-day deadline that regular voter registration is too.
Okay. Are you hopeful that if it gets out of the House Because our problem in Tennessee is our Senate, right? The Senate is worse than the House.
Most of the time it is. I am the most hopeful ever. I think in the House we'll see it, because the House also had a conservative, John Reagan. He lost his Republican primary by a couple hundred votes. There was actually hundreds more Democrats who crossed over in his primary.
Wow.
And so I think he was a well-respected House member, and I think some of his colleagues, is kind of view him as the canary in the coal mine, right? It's
okay.
like, well, and then you got these liberal PACs who are like, yeah, we're coming for you in the Republican primary, and we're going to get our Democrats to vote in your primary to take you out.
Yeah.
And Republican, that should be the final straw for all Republicans.
Exactly, because then it backfires there. And like you said, they're looking for the Republican in name only, really, because like you said, pro-abortion, pro-big government, pro-illegal aliens. There's also, in my opinion, there's also thing as illegal immigration. It's not immigrant. I came in as a legal immigrant. These are illegal aliens. Let's talk about. You had this headline talking about critical race theory in our public schools, because obviously people don't know, Tennessee, there was a big push this legislative session and a special session in the middle of a legislative session to put forth the school choice bill, which was passed, right? It got through. It's not the best news. Here's one more headline real quick that was from Tennessee Stands, because we have a problem with our current governor that we've had, who, again, is Republican, but maybe a name only in some things. He has the ability, he's trying to interfere in the legislative process by what's called flagging a bill. And he's trying to oppose apparently these two things, according to our friends at Tennessee Stands: a constitutional amendment securing the right to homeschool without government interference, because I am for that. I don't like how much we have to do to get the approval of government to homeschool. And then SB 479, the Restoring State Sovereignty Through Nullification Act, to push back against federal overreach, which I presume would allow the state to basically say, no, we nullify. We're not going to impose something if the federal government is going to do something that's against the Constitution. But we're dealing with these, rhinos. And by the way, Bill Lee's, who was the gal that was her director of education? Penny
Schwinn.
Penny Schwinn. Isn't she now in the Trump? Didn't they pick her in the Trump administration? Role?
I saw some headline that she was going to get appointed, but I don't know what ended up happening. That she probably was, But to go back to the critical race, Trump has targeted that, and as a major problem, and But my question is, at the state level, at the local level, why are we giving hundreds of millions of dollars of taxpayer money to these woke nonprofits, many of them who are openly talking about DEI on their websites, ESG, critical race? Obviously, you showed the example of the University of Tennessee. That's a $1 billion taxpayer-funded institution.
Wow. $1 billion.
Yeah. And it's a massive public institution in Tennessee. And but people are pretty silent on that. I even had a conversation one time with one of the Republican leaders, and I was told that, they do good things. Well, a lot of bad governments do some good things. That doesn't excuse the bad things that they're doing, right? And other people will say, including Republicans in leadership, well, it sounds like people are just picking on UT. Well, it's like, hey, if Trump is saying this is bad and this goes against our Republican Party platform and principles, it doesn't matter just because we're a Republican supermajority. It shouldn't be allowed, whether we're talking nonprofits or UT or, anything related, especially if taxpayer money is involved.
Exactly. And I was telling you that I had received some shocking news about University of Tennessee here in Knoxville with regards to just how how much of a radical element is on the campus. You already mentioned the professors, but then I found out that Students for Justice for Palestine, which is connected to the Muslim Brotherhood, We see these, again, Marxist. And by the way, in our ministry, we expose a lot of this commonality between the Marxist and the Islamic movement in America, where they seem to have a common goal. Ultimately, the Islamic movement is a hatred of our nation. I always have on my desk here the explanatory memorandum of the Muslim Brotherhood that in their own words say that we want to sabotage and destroy your miserable house from within, talking about America. So these are seditious groups that are, like you said, anti-American, anti our Constitution, anti our borders, and anything that is radical, anything that is destructive, anything that is chaos, they seem to be for. But now you're telling me that we are funding this with our tax dollars. Yeah. And there seems to be no accountability in a Republican. So do you think we need a state Doge? I mean, is that what we need?
I mean, absolutely. And another thing too, we need to really look at the administrative state of Tennessee and some of our local governments, because I think sometimes these legislators are being too trusting of staff. There's one another local example you and I have talked about related to the $175 million they're giving to nonprofits. One of them being, for instance, $25 million was given to United Way of Greater Knoxville. C.J. Butcher, which you see on there, is a former Knox County Democratic Party chair, candidate campaign manager. He's now the grants manager of United Way. And you have a Republican supermajority that's like, here's $25 million. And they are partnered with Centro Hispano, Catholic Charities,
Catholic
LGBTQ,
Charity.
Green Agenda stuff. And, and we know some of these groups have also been admittedly helping illegal aliens. It's been in the news. They do workshops, how to avoid ICE. And we are funding nonprofits either directly with taxpayer money or a big scam is what they do is they give it to one, like United Way, and then United Way is like a clearinghouse that gives them to all the other. And there's any legislator that tells you there's accountability there, they're absolutely lying. They don't know how that money is being spent.
Because when we talk about, again, folks, when we talk about deep state rot and fighting the establishment, I think one of the things we're realizing is it's really the administrative state, as some people say, that this kind of fourth wing of our country now, this administrative state that has been formed. And by the way, this didn't happen in the last 4 years under Sleepy Joe. This has been going on for decades, that they've been forming these administrative states. I saw it when I was running for legislature and governor in Washington State. And the money is it. I mean, that's what we're finding out. Again, follow the money, and the money will reveal everything. And like you said, why is the Republican state of Tennessee funding leftist so-called NGOs, charities that are bringing unvetted refugees into our country, bringing illegals into our country, and funding LGBT, and even I've heard in some cases, like for example, in Minnesota, where I travel a lot, they're not only doing all of that, but they're also using that money to help bring in children for gender reassigning surgeries, basically what we know as mutilation. So they're using government tax dollars through funneling through nonprofits, NGOs, to say, we're going to help you if you can't afford to travel to Minnesota, because maybe some other state now is not going to allow you to, mutilate your children. So absolutely, folks, we got to pray that. And so I want to encourage people in Tennessee, would it be a good idea? Contact your state legislators, your state senators, and even maybe the governor's office, and say, what? We need a Department of Government Accountability. We need something like that here. How will we go about that?
Well, I think one of the things is we need to do an immediate pause on all the nonprofits. It's so bad. I mean, it literally is hundreds of millions of dollars. the executive branches, whether at the local level or at the state level, we need to do immediate pause and a reevaluation. I don't think a lot of them understand how bad some of these organizations are. And in fact, you know, to the point that you just made, two of them that do receive taxpayer money, Knox Pride in Knoxville, and also there's one, Helen Ross McNabb. If you go to websites, they will have a section that targets youth, right? And then Helen Ross McNabb, they're offering, like, you know, therapy for children who, you know, emotional struggles with transgenderism, you know, and that's on their website. And so there should be zero taxpayer dollars. I mean, the state of Tennessee has the power to even preempt Knoxville and say, no, you know, Knoxville gives 6 figures to Knox Pride, right?
Wow. The county or the city? The city.
The city does. The city does directly. And then indirectly, the city and the county support Knox Pride in other ways, right? Like, so the county gives money to visit Knoxville, and they have a page dedicated to LGBTQ. They link Knox Pride. You go to the Knox Pride page, and then they have a section where they target youth and children. And so that's just unacceptable. It shouldn't exist at all in Tennessee, especially with taxpayer money involved.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, we need to immediately, you know,
especially if we have as a state, right? We have as a state passed legislation to not allow, correct? Am I not right? Am I wrong? Isn't that what we did last year, to not allow under 18? Is it, what is it now with the sex change thing, with the gender affirming care, whatever they call it?
Yeah. If you're talking about the gender affirming care, but you know, one of the reasons that they are doing the nonprofit thing is allows them to get outside of state laws and regulations, right? So there may be a state law that says the city of Knoxville can't do X, right? But then the city of Knoxville can give the money to the nonprofit who can do that, right? And they do this in other ways too, like with sports authorities and taxpayer-funded stadiums. You can't have quotas on contracting for like racial quotas, but if you do a sports authority, that's allowed. And so that's a way they get outside of the state law. And Republicans just got to be smarter. I think they're trying to be innovative, you know, and think outside of the box and use public-private partnerships is another buzzword. But I think that has all failed, that experiment. And we really need to get back to the understanding that government just doesn't work. And anything it touches, it corrupts. And so we got to get back to the institutions in the community, the churches, the family, first and foremost, the family and the churches. And, you know, that's just, the Republican Party has to get back to that.
Amen to that. Amen to that. You know, my friend, Representative Monty Fritz, who I know you know, last year we supported his push to have the month of July as far as prayer. And folks, I think that if we have a chance in this country to push back against this deep state, it is because God is giving us this chance to restore sanity, righteousness, family, faith in the one true God. So like what Erik, I agree with you 100%, Erik, that's what we got to get back to. And I do pray that people like you can be used to do what you're doing, to expose, because that's what got my attention, was just following you and seeing some of the things you were posting. And I'm like, wow, that, because this is specific stuff. It's kind of like you're doing a little bit of Doge work in Tennessee. And that's what we need to know locally, because people are, I'm very concerned. Again, they can go to sleep and say, wow, look at all the things that are happening at the federal level, which is still very early, right? Because I'm not optimistic that this deep state is going to go away quietly. They're never going to go away quietly. And now we have the judicial deep state, because you're seeing all these unbelievable corrupt judges, like the Muslim in the DC circuit that says, you know, you have to give foreign aid to these foreign entities. You can't stop it. And unfortunately, Supreme Court refused to take that up on a limited basis. But anyway, we're running out of time. But I so appreciate what you're doing. Obviously, I wish you the best in regards to the campaign work you're doing, and the consulting. And I wanted to have you on because you have a pulse on kind of what's going on. And we need to be aware that this battle is just beginning. It's going to intensify. It is not going to be, and it's got to be fought locally and at the state level as well as federally if we're going to have any chance of turning this nation around. Any closing comments? And again, I'll bring up here is the way that people can get a hold of you over on X there.
Yeah, and I'm also on Facebook. People will contact me on either of those platforms, direct message. That's fine. Pretty sure I have my email address on there too, and and phone number. And so, I've been talking with conservatives around the state and helping campaigns around the state. And, it's my passion. I'm looking forward to continuing doing it and just helping to nudge things in the right direction.
Amen. Amen to that. And of course, congratulations on your baby boy soon to arrive.
Yeah.
Is it May? You told me May, I think.
Is May 23rd, Thomas
May 23rd.
Jackson.
Praise God. So folks, pray for Erik and his wife, and we pray for a healthy delivery, a safe and healthy delivery. Congratulations. What a blessing. And like you said, we got to get back to family. We got to get back to our faith. We got to get back to common sense. We got to get back to standing up for those things that are just right. And I think one of the things we can agree on is these things that were hidden are no longer hidden. It's so now in our faces of what evil looks like, what insanity looks like, what hatred looks like, and what corruption is looking like. That's why these Dems are so upset with Elon Musk and what's being exposed, because if the money dries up for the administrative state, watch out. Then we got some chances. So
and at the federal level, Elon and Trump are attacking it very good. But now the Republicans at the local and state level have to be smart. They have to understand that these nonprofits, these Democrats, are now going to rely on local and state taxpayer dollars to fund their operations. And not only do we have to make sure that doesn't happen, not give them any more money, we need to now do what Trump is doing, evaluate what we're already giving them and say, you know what? No, we're taking it back. This has been a failed policy. The $25 million that I was telling you about, the United Way of Greater Knoxville, plus there was like all these other nonprofits that received $25 million. That was a pilot program to begin with. So it's like, hey, we tried something, things got out of hand, money was going to illegal aliens. This is not good. We got to claw it back and stop the funding.
Yeah, amen to that. Let's pray for that and pray for courageous people. And of course, I appreciate what you're doing also, because you're backing strong conservative candidates at the local level, like for county commission and your city council, but you're also backing those at the state level. Yeah. And we need those people to go in to have just not only the courage to do what's right, but also the information to do what's right, because they need to be able to have strong campaigns. But then, you get elected. Now you got to actually have strong legislation and strong will to do the work. And so I so appreciate what you're doing. So appreciate being on with us tonight, Erik. Thank you so much for making this time.
Thank you for having
helping
me
us helping us just to kind of get a little bit of a glimpse inside the apparatus of how things are happening. And you give us a glimmer of hope in the sense of what you're saying, in the sense of perhaps the wake up is coming. People are seeing it. People are going to turn. And this is certainly a tremendous opportunity for the Republican Party. I just pray they don't blow it. I just pray that they don't blow it, because it's a tremendous opportunity to bring over a lot of voters, a lot of people that are going, well, I may have been leaning this way, but those people are just insane. And I'm not insane. And I actually like this country and I want to live here. And we always joke that I don't understand. These people always threaten to leave. And then they never do. Like, please, we'll get you plane tickets. We'll fund you. Go. North Korea sounds pretty good. Iran sounds pretty good.
Chicago.
Nicaragua. Go. They never do. So perhaps we are hopefully seeing a tide and a shift that gives us an opportunity. But most important thing, in my opinion, America's got to become godly again. And the morality's got to come back to be able to have that foundation. Erik, God bless you. God bless your wife and your baby boy. And I pray again for safe and healthy. We'll be in touch and look forward to having you back on again. And I'm sure we'll see each other at events here in town. So thank you again for being with us tonight.
Thank you. Yes.
You got it. All right, folks. Again, check out Erik on X. One more time, here is connection there. We got to go. We are way past time tonight, but it was a phenomenal opportunity, folks, to hear from somebody that is in the know and is on the ground watching what's going on and actively working to change the system for the better. We need a righteous government to serve the people, because it is an institution, as I said at the beginning, that God has created. We need civil authority. We have to have a civil authority to be a civil society, and that civil authority has got to be have accountability and have people that are going to have courage to do the right thing. So, hey, folks, again, check out our website, tilministry.com, tilministry.com. If you want to make a one-time donation to the ministry, you can, tilministry.com/donate. Yeah, people are saying they'll chip in for the plane tickets. Exactly. We'll chip in. We'll all chip in for the plane tickets. tilministry.com/donate. You can make a one-time donation online, mail in a check, or join our Gideon Army of 300, our monthly supporters, to help support this ministry. And of course, we have our local church here in East Tennessee as well. And finally, one more thing, check out our Thrive Life website. If you want to get amazing freeze-dried food for emergencies, righteousthrive.thrivelife.com. 10% of whatever you purchase comes back to support the ministry. And every little bit helps to keep us going. So you guys have a wonderful night tonight. I want to let you know we'll, Lord willing, be back on Tuesday, live in studio at noon Eastern time. And then also next Thursday, we have an incredible show. I got an incredible lineup of some former law enforcement individuals. We're going to be talking about the criminal illegal gangs. We're going to be talking about the Islamic movement. We're going to be talking about a lot of different things that we're dealing with right now. A friend of mine is a former FBI agent, a friend who's a former police chief and trainer, and possibly also a pastor friend of mine, all talking about what is going on in our nation. So you guys have a great rest of your night, great weekend. Lord bless you. Stay true to the faith. Stay true to God's word, and may we honor and give him praise and glory in all things. Above all else, he is the most important thing. You guys have a blessed night. This is Pastor Shahram Hading saying good night. We'll talk to you next time.